Welcome to another deep dive into the world of HIV vaccine research. We've got some seriously interesting reports about breakthroughs and challenges. It's going to be a real eye-opener.
What's really fascinating is the sheer diversity of approaches being explored. It really highlights the global commitment to ending this epidemic.
Okay, let's unpack this a bit. A bit like diving into a deep ocean trench, right? Lots to explore.
Exactly. And there's some really exciting stuff bubbling up. First up, we've got mRNA vaccines, which were totally game-changing for COVID-19. Now researchers are exploring how this tech could be used to tackle HIV.
Oh, this is one of those things that makes you go, why didn't I think of that?
Right. It's brilliant. Instead of using a weakened or inactive virus, imagine programming a vaccine to teach your immune system exactly how to fight HIV. That's the potential we're talking about.
Okay, so it's like giving your immune system a personalized training manual.
Exactly. Moderna and the International AIDS Vaccine Initiative, or IAVI, are already running clinical trials, and they're seeing some really promising immune responses, particularly from germline B cells.
Okay, now hold on a sec. Germline B cells. Could you break that down a bit for me?
Sure thing. Germline B cells are kind of like the rookies of your immune system. They haven't encountered any specific pathogens yet, so they've got the potential to develop into a whole range of antibody-producing cells.
So they're the ones with all the potential, but no experience yet.
Yeah,
The raw talent, so to speak.
you got it. And when it comes to HIV, these cells are critical for creating those broadly neutralizing antibodies, or bNAbs for short, which are essential for fighting a wide range of HIV strains.
Ah, so they're like the rookies with the potential to become all-star players.
Per perfect analogy. And one of the exciting things about mRNA vaccines is that they seem to be really good at activating these germline B cells, which could lead to more effective and longer-lasting immunity.
Okay, so mRNA vaccines definitely have some serious potential. But what about the challenges? Is anything holding this approach back?
Well, one of the biggest hurdles with any HIV vaccine is the virus's ability to mutate rapidly. It's constantly changing its appearance to evade the immune system.
So it's like trying to design a vaccine for a target that's constantly moving and shifting.
Exactly. And that's why researchers are exploring ways to develop vaccines that target those parts of the virus that don't mutate as much. It's like finding the Achilles heel, the weak spot that stays the same no matter how much the virus tries to disguise itself.
That makes sense, targeting the core, not the camouflage. But let's shift gears a bit and talk about those broadly neutralizing antibodies, those bNAbs that we keep mentioning. Why are they so crucial in the fight against HIV?
Imagine HIV as a fortress, heavily guarded and tough to break into. bNAbs are like those elite soldiers trained to recognize and attack specific weak points in the fortress walls. They can bind to parts of the virus that stay relatively consistent from strain to strain, making them super effective.
So it's not just about fighting one particular strain of HIV, but about taking down the whole army, so to speak.
Exactly. And that's why there's so much buzz around bNAbs. They have the potential to be a real game changer in both HIV prevention and treatment.
Okay, so how are scientists actually trying to use these bNAbs in vaccine development?
One approach is to develop vaccines that actually teach the body to make its own bNAbs, like training your own personal army of elite soldiers to fight off HIV.
That sounds incredible, but I imagine that's not easy to do, right?
You're right, it's a big challenge. One of the major hurdles is figuring out the right combination of antigens to stimulate bNAb production. Antigens are those molecules that trigger an immune response, and finding the right ones to kickstart bNAb production is crucial.
It's like trying to find the exact recipe to bake the perfect cake, but with a lot more at stake.
That's a good way to put it. It's definitely a complex process with a lot of trial and error involved.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
So we've talked about mRNA vaccines and bNAbs. Now let's move on to something that sounds straight out of a sci-fi movie: vaccine delivery. It seems like things are getting seriously futuristic in that department. What can you tell us about these new approaches?
It's truly amazing to see how scientists are reimagining how we deliver vaccines. It's not just about needles anymore.
Hold on, are we talking about nanobots injecting vaccines or something?
Not quite nanobots, but it's getting close. One promising area is using nanoparticles. These tiny particles can be engineered to deliver vaccine components directly to immune cells, potentially increasing efficacy and stability.
Wow. So we're talking about targeted delivery, sneaking those vaccines right into the heart of the immune system.
You got it. By precisely targeting immune cells, nanoparticles could offer a much more efficient and focused approach to vaccination.
Okay, so nanoparticles sound promising. What other futuristic delivery systems are in the works?
Another exciting area is implantable devices. Imagine a small device under the skin that slowly releases vaccine components over time, providing long-lasting protection.
It's like having a built-in on-demand immune booster.
Exactly. This could be a game changer for people who have difficulty accessing healthcare regularly or who need consistent ongoing protection.
These futuristic delivery systems sound incredible, but are they just a pipe dream? Or could we see them become a reality soon?
These technologies are still in their early stages, but the progress being made is really encouraging. I'm cautiously optimistic that we'll see some of these futuristic delivery systems become a reality in the not-too-distant future.
That's definitely something to look forward to. But let's not forget that this fight against HIV is a global one. What role does international collaboration play in all this research?
Global collaboration is absolutely crucial. HIV is a challenge that transcends borders, and it demands a coordinated global response.
Okay, so how are researchers working together across the globe? Can you give us some examples?
There are some fantastic initiatives out there. For example, the Global HIV Vaccine Enterprise brings together researchers, funders, and policymakers from all over the world. It's all about accelerating vaccine development and creating a united front.
That's inspiring. Are there any other examples of global collaboration that stand out?
Absolutely. We have organizations like WHO and UNAIDS working tirelessly to coordinate global efforts to prevent and treat HIV. And there are tons of international research collaborations going on all the time, with scientists from different countries sharing knowledge, resources, and data.
It's amazing how science can bring people together from all corners of the world. But let's focus for a moment on a specific organization we touched on earlier, the HIV Vaccine Trials Network, or HVTN. What role do they play in this research?
The HVTN is on the front lines, running clinical trials that provide crucial data about what's working and what's not. They're the ones testing various vaccine candidates in the real world and gathering vital information about how the immune system responds.
So they're the ones putting these new technologies to the test, seeing how they perform in real-world settings.
Exactly. Their work is absolutely essential for moving the field forward. Every trial, whether it succeeds or not, gives us valuable information and helps us refine our approach.
Can you tell us about some of the specific trials the HVTN is running right now?
Sure. One trial that's generating a lot of buzz is the Mosaico trial. It's testing a mosaic-based vaccine, which combines antigens from different HIV strains. The goal is to provide broader protection by hitting the virus from multiple angles.
So it's like creating a vaccine that's ready for anything HIV throws at it.
That's a great way to put it. And importantly, the Mosaico trial is specifically focusing on high-risk populations, including men who have sex with men and transgender individuals.
That's great to hear that they're focusing on the communities most impacted by HIV. Have there been any other notable trials recently?
Not all trials are successful, unfortunately. The Imbokodo trial, which was conducted in sub-Saharan Africa, was recently halted because it didn't demonstrate sufficient efficacy.
Oh, that's disappointing to hear.
Yeah.
But even though it wasn't a success, did it still provide valuable information?
Absolutely. Every trial, regardless of the outcome, adds to our understanding of HIV and how the immune system responds. In the case of the Imbokodo trial, the data collected will help scientists fine-tune future vaccine strategies and pinpoint areas for improvement.
So it's like learning from our mistakes and using that knowledge to pave the way for future successes.
Exactly. Each trial is a stepping stone, bringing us closer to an effective vaccine.
It sounds like HIV vaccine research is a constantly evolving field, with new discoveries and setbacks happening all the time. What's the overall vibe among researchers right now? Is there a sense of optimism?
There's definitely a sense of hope in the air. While HIV is a formidable opponent, the progress made in recent years is truly remarkable. New technologies like mRNA vaccines and a deeper understanding of the virus are giving us reasons to be optimistic.
Okay, but let's be real for a second. There's still big challenges ahead, right?
Of course, HIV has this incredible ability to evade the immune system, and developing a vaccine that offers long-lasting protection is a massive undertaking.
So what are some of the biggest obstacles facing scientists right now?
One major challenge, as we discussed earlier, is the virus's rapid mutation rate. Another is funding. Developing a safe, effective, and affordable vaccine requires significant investment, and sustained support is vital for this research to thrive.
I see. So we need both brilliant minds and deep pockets to win this fight.
Absolutely. And we can't forget about addressing the social stigma that surrounds HIV stigma, can prevent people from getting tested, accessing treatment, and even participating in clinical trials, which hinders progress.
That's a really important point. It's not just about the science, it's about creating a supportive environment where people feel safe and empowered to seek help.
Exactly. We need to combat stigma alongside the virus if we want to see real, lasting change.
That's a powerful statement. It seems like this fight involves a lot more than just the science itself.
It absolutely does. But the good news is that there are countless individuals and organizations passionately working to address these challenges. Their dedication and commitment are truly inspiring.
That's wonderful to hear. But with all this in mind, what does it all mean for our listener? Where do we stand in the quest for an HIV vaccine?
It's a dynamic and constantly evolving field. We have incredibly talented people tackling this from every angle, and while there are still hurdles to overcome, there's a genuine sense of optimism.
So you're saying HIV vaccine is a realistic possibility. It's not just a distant dream.
I believe it is. The key takeaway here is that this is a fight we can win. With continued research, global collaboration, and unwavering commitment, an HIV vaccine may be closer than we think.
That's a really encouraging thought. And it's a great place to wrap up this first part of our deep dive. We've covered a lot of ground, from mRNA vaccines to those futuristic delivery systems to the crucial role of global collaboration.
It's been quite a journey so far, but there's so much more to explore.
Indeed. Stay tuned for part 2, where we'll delve even deeper into some of the specific challenges and opportunities facing HIV vaccine research today. Okay, so we've talked about all this incredible progress, but like we said, there are still some serious challenges ahead.
Right. Absolutely. HIV is like a master escape artist. One of the biggest hurdles is that pesky mutation rate. It's always changing, trying to outsmart us.
Right, we touched on that earlier. It's like playing a game of whack-a-mole, except the moles are multiplying and changing shape right in front of you.
Exactly. And that makes it really tough to design a vaccine that offers broad and lasting protection. What works against one strain might be completely useless against another.
So it's a constantly moving target. How are researchers tackling this shape-shifting virus?
Well, one strategy is focusing on those parts of the virus that don't change as much, those conserved regions.
So it's like finding the chink in the armor, the weak spot that stays the same even as the virus tries to disguise itself.
Exactly. If we can target those conserved regions, we have a much better chance of developing a vaccine that offers broader, more durable protection.
Makes sense. So instead of chasing after every single variation, you're going for the core, the heart of the matter.
Precisely. It's about outsmarting the virus, finding those vulnerabilities that it can't easily change.
That's fascinating. Are there any other strategies being explored to overcome this mutation challenge?
Oh, absolutely. One really promising area is using computational biology and AI to predict how the virus might evolve in the future.
Whoa, now we're getting really futuristic. Using AI to basically anticipate the virus's next move.
Exactly. By analyzing the patterns and drivers of HIV evolution, we can potentially design vaccines that are a step ahead, ready to tackle those future mutations before they even arise.
That's like some serious next-level chess right there. It's like an ongoing arms race between science and the virus.
In a way, it is. But with every new discovery, every breakthrough, we're getting better at understanding HIV and developing strategies to outmaneuver it.
Okay, so we've talked about the mutation hurdle. What are some of the other big challenges facing HIV vaccine research?
Well, funding is always a concern. Developing a safe and effective and, importantly, affordable vaccine requires a huge amount of investment, and we need continued support to keep the momentum going.
Right. Research doesn't happen in a vacuum. It needs fuel to keep those engines running.
Exactly. We need to make sure that HIV vaccine research stays a global priority and receives the funding it deserves. It's an investment in a healthier future for all of us.
Couldn't agree more. Now, what about the ethical considerations around HIV vaccine trials? I imagine those can be pretty complex.
Absolutely. Ethical considerations are paramount. We need to make sure that all trials are conducted responsibly and ethically, with complete transparency and informed consent from all participants.
And that's especially important given the stigma that still unfortunately surrounds HIV, right?
Exactly. We need to create a safe and supportive environment for participants where they feel respected and protected. Their well-being and their rights have to be at the forefront of everything we do.
So building trust with communities is essential.
Absolutely. We need to engage with communities, listen to their concerns, and empower them to be active participants in the research process.
That's a crucial point. So we've talked about some of the challenges. Now let's shift gears and talk about the good stuff. What are some of the most promising advancements that have you feeling optimistic about the future of this research?
Well, as we talked about earlier, the arrival of mRNA technology is a real game changer. The potential of this platform to revolutionize vaccine development is huge.
Yeah, the speed and the flexibility of mRNA vaccines are pretty remarkable.
They really are. And the progress being made with those broadly neutralizing antibodies, the bNAbs, is incredibly exciting. If we can harness the power of bNAbs, we could be on the verge of a major breakthrough.
It's like we're slowly but surely building this arsenal of weapons to fight HIV.
That's a great way to put it. And don't forget the power of global collaboration. Scientists, researchers, and organizations around the world are working together, sharing knowledge and resources to accelerate progress.
It's like a united front against a common enemy.
Exactly. And that unity, that shared purpose, gives me a lot of hope. We've come a long way in the fight against HIV. And I truly believe that with continued dedication and collaboration, an effective, safe, and accessible vaccine is within reach.
That's incredibly inspiring to hear. It sounds like there's a real sense of momentum building in the field.
There definitely is. Every new discovery, every successful trial, every step forward fuels our determination to keep pushing forward, to keep searching for that solution.
I have to admit, I'm feeling pretty energized after learning about all this groundbreaking research.
Me too. It's an exciting time to be following the developments in HIV vaccine research.
Okay, before we move on, I want to circle back to something we talked about earlier, those broadly neutralizing antibodies, the bNAbs. They seem to be a key player in this whole vaccine quest.
Oh, they absolutely are. bNAbs hold immense promise because they can target multiple strains of HIV. Not just one specific strain, but a whole range of them. That makes them a really powerful tool.
Can you break down exactly how bNAbs work? It sounds pretty complicated.
Well, imagine HIV as this heavily armored knight, and the bNAbs are like these highly skilled archers who can find those tiny gaps in the armor, those weak spots.
Because I'm picturing it. So even though the virus is trying to protect itself, these bNAbs can still find a way to get through those defenses.
Exactly. HIV has this outer layer that acts like a shield, but bNAbs have this incredible ability to bind to very specific parts of that outer layer and neutralize the virus.
So they're like these guided missiles homing in on their target with pinpoint accuracy.
Perfect analogy. And because bNAbs can target those conserved regions of the virus, those parts that don't mutate as easily, they can be effective against a much wider range of HIV strains.
Right, that's what makes them so special. They're not limited to fighting just one type of HIV.
Precisely. They're like a universal key able to unlock and disarm many different variations of the virus.
So how are researchers actually trying to use these bNAbs in vaccine development?
One approach is to create vaccines that actually teach the body to produce its own bNAbs. It's like setting up an internal factory to manufacture these powerful antibodies.
Wow, that's impressive. So instead of giving the body bNAbs directly, you're training it to make them on its own.
Exactly. It's like we're empowering the immune system to be self-sufficient, giving it the tools to fight HIV on its own terms.
That sounds much more sustainable than constantly having to provide those antibodies from an external source.
It does, but it's not a walk in the park. Training the immune system to produce broadly neutralizing antibodies is it's incredibly complex.
I can imagine. So what are researchers doing to tackle this challenge?
They're using a bunch of different strategies.
Yeah.
One we've touched on is sequential immunogens. Remember those?
Yeah, those carefully timed doses of different vaccine formulations.
Right. The idea is to basically expose the immune system to different parts of the virus in a very specific sequence, kind of like a training program, with the goal of gradually coaxing it into producing those potent bNAbs.
So it's like a boot camp for the immune system, whipping it into shape to fight HIV.
Yeah, something like that. And in addition to this active immunization approach, researchers are also exploring passive immunization, which involves directly injecting bNAbs into the body.
So instead of teaching the body to make its own bNAbs, you're giving it a ready-made supply.
Exactly. It's like providing a temporary shield while we work on getting that internal bNAb factory up and running. This approach can offer immediate protection, but it's not as long-lasting as active immunization.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Having both options available gives us more flexibility depending on the specific needs of the individual.
Exactly. It's all about having a diverse toolkit to fight this virus.
So what's the latest on bNAb research? Are we seeing any promising results?
Oh, definitely. There's been some really encouraging progress. For example, some trials have shown that passive immunization with bNAbs can significantly lower the risk of HIV infection.
Wow, so we're seeing real evidence that this approach can actually work in humans.
We are. And on the active immunization front, scientists are making progress in designing vaccines that can actually trigger those bNAb responses. It's a really exciting time.
That's amazing to hear. It sounds like bNAbs could be a real game changer in the fight against HIV.
I'm cautiously optimistic. There's still a lot of work ahead, but the progress we've seen in recent years gives me hope that we're heading in the right direction.
Well, this has been an absolutely fascinating deep dive into the world of HIV vaccine research. I feel like we've covered so much ground, from the complexities of the virus itself to the cutting-edge technologies being developed. It's clear that scientists are making some remarkable strides.
They really are, and it's all driven by this incredible dedication, this passion to find a solution. And it's not just scientists, it's researchers, healthcare workers, advocates, policymakers, and people living with HIV, all working together towards a common goal.
It's a testament to the power of human ingenuity, collaboration, and perseverance, that even in the face of a formidable challenge like HIV, we can come together and make a difference.
Well said. And I think that's a perfect note to end on. The quest for an HIV vaccine is a journey, and we're all in this together. Every step forward, every breakthrough brings us closer to a future where HIV is no longer a threat.
That's a powerful message of hope. And to our listeners, thank you for joining us on this deep dive into the world of HIV vaccine research. Remember, knowledge is power. Stay informed, stay engaged, and stay hopeful. Until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep diving deep into the world around you.